divide the clean clothes and the dirty clothes, which I think most of it is dirty. Okay, all the packing cubes that I have with me are all unpacked, so what I want to do now, before just putting them away, well, double check if you got everything out, because I see now I left one small thing in there. And then I also want to take out those labels and put them away somewhere to be used for next time again. You can fit the t-shirts in a smaller one like this rather than keeping the t-shirts in a bigger one. Maybe you could use the bigger one for something else. A drying rack to let them again just kind of air out a bit, and then I'll zip them up and I can probably put them away tomorrow or the day after. And a tiny bit of unpacking just to check the rest of the carry-on suitcase. Okay, almost done with unpacking everything. Just the last few things from the carry-on suitcase. And done as well. The labels. Okay, so it's a few days later, so these goggles have completely dried and they can go back into their spot. Suitcases also look completely dry and they're a lot cleaner, so glad that that's done. Those can go back down. So after a big holiday, you might find yourself coming back with new items where maybe they had some kind of memory behind it or they were gifted. So the first thing I did was I gathered all the new items and then I went through them, sorting them by a category. This helped to give a better oversight of what was new and what I wanted to do with all of it. And for example, if I wanted to take a picture of it or things that were gifts for people or things that I wanted to instantly put away. I just wanted to give a little side note to also remember to check inside certain pockets or inside certain bags. For example, I still found some leftover snacks in the bag that I used during our climb to Mount Kinabalu. So a little extra reminder to sometimes check inside things like a laptop case or in this case a passport case, and just check if nothing was left in there before putting them into their proper place. For example, in this case we don't usually buy souvenirs, but we stayed in this really nice lodge called the Rainforest Lodge in Sabah, I believe. And when we first arrived at the hotel, they gave all the guests quite a big commotion and they served drinks in these mugs. And so at the end we decided to buy 2 of them, as these were also the last 2 left. So I did take a picture of it and then I add a little note about that whole story behind it, because that just makes these a bit more of a special item than just regular mugs. The same kind of premise goes for things like these mugs. These were also, in a way, souvenirs that we bought from that same Rainforest Lodge. And that's because my boyfriend really liked the fact that it had the National Geographic logo, because National Geographic had a partnership with, I believe, around 6 hotels in Asia, and the one that we stayed at was one of those. But unfortunately, after COVID, National Geographic terminated those relationships, and so because of that, the hotel was no longer allowed to produce new merchandise with the National Geographic logo on it, but they were allowed to continue selling their old existing stock with the National Geographic on it. And so these were one of the last few left. And it had the Borneo Big Five, which we were luckily all able to see, so it just made these mugs have even more special meaning to them. And so because of that, I took a picture of them and made a little note about all of that in the picture's caption. Same kind of premise goes with these items, where these are actually made from a small company in Cambodia that uses recycled fishnets to make the products, and I just thought that that made the product a bit more unique, so I took a picture of it and added a little caption about that company, and then in a similar note about taking pictures. These were the permits that we had to climb Mount Kinabalu, and so again I took a picture of that just to add that as a note. So if after all we decide to declutter these and no longer hold on to them, then at least we have this picture to refer back to them. And we got some moringa powder, as it's super good for you. So now it is time to put all of this away. Alright, everything is now tidied up and put back into its proper spot, and by gathering everything in the beginning, it just makes it a bit more of an incentive to instantly do those as everything is gathered than to put everything away and then think that you'll get to it later on. After you come back from a big holiday, you might find yourself with a big list of tasks you have to catch up on. At least that was my case, where it felt like almost every task that I tried to do in rotation just happened to come back onto my list as we were away, so there was quite a bit to catch up on, and I'm still working on catching up on those. So the first thing I like to do to help me give a bit of momentum is to start with the easiest task. And then after going through more of those easy tasks and just kind of helping to get back into routine, it was time to start looking at the more difficult tasks or more time-consuming tasks. So for example, I had on my task list to clean the fridge, and so I decided to do that before buying a bunch of groceries. And then from there I looked a bit about those overdue tasks and which was overdue the longest and which one I kind of wanted to prioritize. And so the first major task that I got around to doing after cleaning up all the items was cleaning those makeup brushes. And as you start to make a bit of a simple schedule, things will start to eventually get done, and it just helps to no longer feel overwhelmed if you have an idea of, okay, I might not be able to get to cleaning the oven today, but I know that in 2 weeks' time I have a bit more time to do it, so I plan on doing it then. Okay, and now I'm back to present day. So I finished unpacking all the suitcases, and I did this earlier for my own suitcase, but I want to do the same thing for my boyfriend's suitcase, and that's just to give it a quick wipe down / clean. Especially because they're new suitcases, so I want them to look as clean and new as. So the first easy thing I like to do is just to try to empty out all those crumbs and double check that you took everything out of there. Now again, it's not about giving them a perfect clean, but just giving them a quick wipe down to get rid of any of those scuff marks or stains. So as for one quick example, there's a bit of a sticky residue left from those suitcase labels, and I do want to try to get that off. And done. And I'm gonna let those fully dry, and then I can put them back into the basement. So I just finished going through all the new items, and this is a collection of all those kind of miscellaneous things of papers that need to be sorted, or things that need to go back into the kitchen, those sort of things. So I do recommend going through these things as soon as possible after big holiday, and not just putting your papers, for example, in a pile in the office room and thinking that you're gonna get to them later. So what I'll do now is just quickly sort through all of this. Then I want to refill some of the tea boxes and then put the extra teas away in the pantry. Alright, so the next thing that's quite easy to forget about is checking what's in your wallet. But I recommend first just emptying out everything in the wallet and properly putting those things away. Just gonna empty out everything again. Alright, so for years I've been collecting all my boarding passes in one area, so sometimes they rip the boarding pass and then you don't have the date on them anymore, stuff like that, so I'm just gonna make a quick note on them. Okay, so here I've gathered all the things like anything like a new warranty booklet to things like brochures, pamphlets, those kind of things. So I just want to quickly go through this now and see what I want to keep or not. So things like this, these are some drink vouchers from the hotel, but we're past the date, so no point in keeping those. Things like an instruction booklet, for example, for this new adapter that we had to buy, also a good thing to keep, so I'll put that away. So something that we definitely want to keep is this tour itinerary that we got from our time in Borneo. So with something like this, I do just want to write some quick notes about it and then put this with the travel pile area. And then the same kind of idea applies to these booklets that we got where you were supposed to, where they had pictures of all the wildlife that you could see in Borneo, and then you could check mark the ones that you did see. And then lastly, the same thing goes for the certificates that we got from climbing Mount Kinabalu. I also just wrote a quick summary about the experience and the date of going at the back. And then I took pictures of both sides, and then I'll save copies of those on my laptop. It's good to have a backup just in case these get lost or destroyed somehow. Alright, so now that those notes are added to these things as well, then all of this can be put upstairs into the right spot. Now another thing that is a good idea to properly clean away after your holiday is just doing something with the currencies that you might have taken back with you. And now that can be added into the box. And the same thing goes with the currency from China. Okay, that's all sorted. And then the last tiny thing I recommend doing is just quickly go with your receipts and seeing what you want to keep, or maybe you had to make note of something. So the next quick thing I'll do is just separate all of these by country. And done. So I finished sorting through all the receipts and categorizing them by country that they came from. And I think that this last task is a good segue into the next video where I want to showcase a bit more about the technology and computer side of organizing everything after a trip. So things like filing your receipts, perhaps making a little itinerary about your trip, or sorting through pictures, those kind of things. So overall, I hope that some of these tips that I have showcased in this video have been helpful to you, or that maybe next time you come back from a big trip, you'll consider doing one or more of them. And so I hope you enjoyed watching the video. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.